Hey guys. All right, so in light of what's going on and with the economic slowdown that we're seeing, a lot of discussions that I'm having right now are surrounding what the state of the housing market will be when we come out the other side of this. And it's a logical question to ask whether we're going to see another environment that was like 2008. The big reason why experts think that this will not be like 2008 is because what caused the recession in 2008 was actually the housing industry and the mortgage crisis. What's causing this one is a health crisis. So from a general perspective, the big thought is that housing is actually going to be what stimulates the recovery from this, and hopefully quickly, whereas in 2008 it was the problem. So what I want to walk through today is the top 5 reasons that this will not be like 2008. So the first reason is appreciation. So if we compare the 6 years leading up to the crash in 2008 to the 6 years leading up to today, the rate at which homes were appreciating in the 6 years leading up to 2008 was at a far faster rate than what we've seen in the last 6 years. In fact, if we look at the last 6 years, it's kind of hard to explain. I'm going to put a graph to make this more clear. In the last 6 years, the highest level of appreciation that we've seen in any given year is lower than the lowest amount of appreciation that we saw in 2008 or leading up to 2008. Does that make any sense? Here's the graph. So the second reason is mortgage credit. So the mortgage credit availability index is a measure of how hard it is to get a loan. So to explain it simply, the higher this index, the easier it is to get a loan. The lower this index, the harder it is to get a loan. So if we look at this index over time, when we compare 2008 to where we are today, the mortgage credit availability index today is super, super low, which means that the lending standards that were put in place after the 2008 recession are still in place. Here's another chart that really depicts this in a very simple way. So the third reason this is different than 2008 has to do with the number of homes on the market, our inventory. In 2008, we had an oversupply of homes. Today, we have exactly the opposite problem. We have an undersupply of homes. So what does that mean? It means that there are more buyers out there than there are homes to buy. So what's considered a neutral market is 6 to 7 months of inventory. Anything less than 6 months is a seller's market. Anything more than 7 months is a buyer's market. If we look at a chart of where we were in 2008, we were very much in a buyer's market, anywhere from 10 to 11 months of inventory. Today, nationally, we have around a 3-month supply. And if we compare that to what we see in Northern Virginia, for March 2020 in Fairfax and Loudoun County, we had around a 1-month supply. And if you've been watching my videos over the past several months leading into this situation, in a lot of areas we had a 2 or 3 week supply. So the amount of homes on the market today is completely different than what we saw in 2008. The fourth reason has to do with how people are using the equity in their home. So in the years leading up to 2008, people were doing cash out refinances just to finance their lifestyle. Today, people are much more cautious about how they use that equity. So to put in perspective, between 2005 and 2007, in the 3 years leading up to the crash in 2008, there was $824 billion of equity taken out in refinances. In the 3 years leading up to 2020, there's been $232 billion. So people are using their equity in a much different, much more conservative way today than they were back in 2008. And the fifth and final reason is how much equity people have in their homes today compared to 2008. So in 2008, people would walk away from their houses when they owed more than it was worth. And that's because they'd done all these cash out refinances and didn't have the equity left. Today, about 54% of Americans have at least 50% equity in their homes or more. 37% of Americans own their homes free and clear. So we have tremendous equity positions in our housing right now, which is completely different than what we saw in 2008. And it's going to make people react completely differently to a potential recession. So the summary is, this is not 2008. 2008 was caused by a housing crisis. This is being caused by a very unfortunate health crisis. So whereas before housing was at the center of the economic slowdown, the hope and the indication right now is that it could be at the center of the recovery. So I know there are a lot of people out there with questions about how this situation impacts you and your plans and what you have going on in your family and in your life with potential moves that were on the horizon. So if anybody wants to talk through any of this in more detail and brainstorm about how to use this time to plan, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will help you in any way I can. And those planning sessions will be on Zoom, so you can be in your pajamas. I'm in yoga pants. This is all for show.